Welcome, everyone, to another episode. I am wanting to talk today about allowing yourself to feel confident. And there is a lot of different words thrown about these days, and I think embodiment is one of them. So, if you embody the confidence, what does that even mean, and how do I even get there? So, I personally have come from a background of really being low on myself, uncomfortable in my skin. I never thought anyone ever liked me. I was kind of walking around like a shell and walking on eggshells, trying to figure out how I could fit in, but never really getting there. Thank God I didn't. And it came to a point where I needed to accept and love myself for who I am authentically. And that was a huge journey of allowing me to really know what was true deep within me, what was authentic within me, and having this allowance to let this part of myself out in front of an audience, in front of the whole world. And I think the biggest challenge was bringing this out in front of my parents. So, as someone who is ADHD and undiagnosed as a girl and teenager, I can say that I got the most awful comments under the sun, which I'm sure anyone who is neurodivergent can really resonate with, because when we are children, when we are teenagers and neurodivergent, because there's nothing visible that makes us look any different from anyone else, we are expected to behave like everyone else, like the normies, and expected that just saying something to us from the teachers or our guardians or anyone around us could make us more aware of our actions, more aware of it is that we're going to do, so that we can conform with everyone else. So I was never academic. I always got picked on because I would be the one that puts my hand up in class sometimes and got the wrong answer. So most of the time I would hide and not do that. But when it came to my exams, like my GCSEs, which is the really important exams in high school, I had to put my hand out up in order to get it wrong, in order to kind of understand what it was that I was doing, whether some teachers would move forward and really try and help explain that to me, or they would just move on to the next person who did get it right and then just go, correct, next. I still didn't pass all my GCSEs. I think I got about five, and that's because I was left alone in the academic process, because I was always underperforming, and it was as though I wasn't listening, I wasn't trying hard enough. And so this feeling that I got was that I was never good enough, and I was always trying on the inside, like my head was so trying to comprehend everything, but I never was able to actually get anywhere with it. Like I never got as good marks as anyone else, and there was never a resolution, because as someone with ADHD, I would have really excelled if I had someone right next to me telling me exactly how it's done and what to do, and also making it a little bit more playful, a little bit more fun and less heady, because I learn from visuals. So, away from the educational background, I also really struggled with friendships. So I really struggled to make long-lasting friendships as much as I wanted to. I really, really tried. Again, it was like I was trying so much to do everything so perfectly right, but never getting anywhere and hitting a brick wall over and over again. I was always pretty sensitive growing up. So being sensitive as well made people feel less of an urge to hang out with me, because I found things really hard to address sometimes. And if someone ever said anything that was slightly triggering for me to hear, which meant that I wasn't, like something wasn't easy with me and someone didn't want to hang out with me, I would get RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. So This really impacted me when I left school and I was going into adult life. I left school and I went to become a hairdresser in London at Vidal Sassoon, like one of the best salons in the world. And I was still living in this place of high school worries, dramas, school worries, dramas, feeling never the best. I would be around all these really beautiful girls who had their makeup really well done and just generally a lot cooler. And I was there like a bit different, not knowing how to be around people. So I felt very like shelled, like tight and in the head, and always walking around feeling like I was kind of in the shadows and sort of invisible. And it felt like that I was invisible wherever I went, and I wasn't invisible when I was using my voice and trying to state maybe if I was lonely or not feeling good, but that was always too much for people. So I was embodying, I would say, this really sad girl who had never really had a good friendship, doesn't know how to keep a friendship, and also wasn't good at anything. And I'd embodied that character for most of my life. So, knocking back throughout that of not embodying this like confident character and embodying someone who is low on energy, depressed, low, just self-worth issues completely. I didn't have the friendships that I so desired. I didn't know how to communicate effectively with anyone to make them aware of my needs. I was at a time in my life where people hadn't really done the work to kind of try and understand who it was that I was as well. So I was in this huge thing of misunderstanding, and also I don't think it helped that I didn't have my ADHD diagnosis, because a lot of people work better knowing about certain labels because then they can do the research and be a bit more understanding to what it is that I'm going through, because they have this piece of paper that says this is what it is and this is how you can help someone who is neurodivergent. I didn't have that. I was just weird. Moving forward, I actually first probably started this embodiment journey of embodying this higher part of myself, which is what I'm going to talk about now. I am going to embody this confident self. When people say embodiment, you can actually choose whether you embody something low vibrational, as they might call it, someone who is embodying this not so good human. You can also embody confidence, aliveness, health, and well-being. And I feel like I embody that now. Anyway, so I have been going around embodying this really low person, and now I am embodying, I'd like to say, the queen. I still struggle a little bit at times and embody that mopey mopey, which I think is also equally important, and I'm going to get to that later. And for the most part now, I feel like I embody someone who is confident and happy and wise. And I got there through graft, through a lot of self-reflections, through a lot of understanding myself more. And it probably didn't start happening properly until I was actually diagnosed ADHD. I know a lot of people who refuse to get diagnoses. They don't want to put that label for themselves. But for me, particularly, it really helped me embody certain aspects of myself and become confident in the character that it made me today. And what I realized is that some of the most interesting people in the world, the most understanding, the most wise, and just the most epic people in the world and really talented people actually have neurodiversities, specifically ADHD and autism. So I had to come to this new understanding of myself through this diagnosis. I had to come to this, well, this place where I'm like, this explains so much And there was a reason why I struggled so much to conform, because I naturally really struggle to conform. That's just the way that my brain has been the whole time since I was a toddler. It's not just been now. So from that, I've been able to go, okay, I've got these. I know my triggers. I know when this is going to come up. And instead of going, I need to stop this happening and pushing this side of me away, I've been able to go, okay, when's this coming up? What is coming up? Grab it and actually sit with it, be with it, and go, this is fine. This is an aspect of myself. How do I get through to the next part? Or how do I understand and love this part so that I can go through to the brighter vibrational point of me? And if you are ADHD like me, then there is a lot of brightness that actually happens with ADHD. And a lot of people who have friends will say the same, because people who have ADHD and neurological disorders is that, yeah, we're just the most fun. Anyway, so I really wanted to touch up on this and talk about how it's going to help is this embodiment. So it's not exactly embodying ADHD, it's embodying me. And ADHD is a part of me that I need to accept, love, deeply understand, and deeply feel connected with. Because when we are connected with something rather than pushing it away, that's when we can tap into our most inner wisdom. So being aware of these signals, like when I am going into the mind-body connection of these things that are coming up, I can feel different signals inside my body and little flutters maybe in my heart, or tightnesses in my chest, in my belly, or like real like open sensations. And those are the ones where I can feel more creative and expansive and really able to feel the excitements of life. So it can allow me to help be centered in myself to accept these parts, and that can naturally boost confidence. And then another word that I've touched on, which is a bit of a buzzword, but I don't know a better word to say than being authentic and authenticity. So when you are embodying this character, so I suppose even when I was in my low moods, I was embodying what was authentic to me at the time, but it wasn't exactly helping my character in many ways. And it was pulling me down, dragging me down into this space where I found really, really difficult to get out of. And even with pills from the doctors and things like that, I still found it so hard to get out from. So what I didn't know then is when I'm being authentic in this feeling, this sense of heaviness and lowness and not good enoughness, I was actually pulling around this big shadow which was following me, which people didn't really want to be around. And also not knowing that through this, there was going to always be another side which can get better. And when you are in this, when you're embodying that too much, you can sometimes get stuck in a trap, which makes you feel like nothing's ever going to get better. And so you just concentrate on all of the worst things. So embodying these things is great, but also knowing that it's just a little hole in the floor that's going to get easier as time goes by. So aligning your actions with your true self. And I think when we are in this heaviness, we aren't really in our true self, because the core of us from when we were born, from this innocence, this light that comes into the earth, we are authentic in that time. We are so light and we are so curious, and we don't really have a grasp of what's going on, but we're authentic to all of these emotions, feelings, and we are able to embody that as what we are without this ego that kind of shadows this place. And it's the ego that makes us disingenuous and unauthentic. And the ego is built through time. It's built from the society standards. It's built from the people around us and what is expected of us. So if we're able to, as adults, kind of strip back some of the ego that we've built up over the years, we can actually reconnect with this place, this innocence of what we once were. So it's about forgetting what people demand of us and actually just going, this is how I feel, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to give. And this can bring a key ingredients to being authentic, because when we're actually able to embody our truth and go, oh, that doesn't sit right, but I'm going to do this instead, people are going to have way more respect for you for wanting to do that rather than going through with what everyone else has said. So it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage to be authentic and actually take away what it is that they want and go with what you want. But it's something that's going to create this resilience and authenticity in your innocent self. So the next thing that I want to talk about is when we are embodying something, it actually can help us with our own anxiety and own fears. And when we're in fear, which is the opposite of love, we are blocking so much from getting into our creative reality. And so when we're overcoming our fear and anxiety, we have to disconnect from these thoughts that are going over in our head. And again, embodiment, connect with the body, what's going on there, and see what the disconnect is between the both, and start to embody what's happening in the now and what you're feeling in the now. And so we need to get some practices going which are going to change these aspects of ourselves, of this anxiety and fear, and ways that we can do that, which for me came from ecstatic dance practices, self-pleasure rituals, tantra, and learning, I suppose, even yoga, and like being around other people who are into that themselves. So it's moving the body, bringing yourself back to the present moment, and even just taking a moment to check what's in the room and going, I see that. That's clear. That's here. All good. So if you want to increase that feel good feeling and be confident instead of being drowned in this anxiety and this fear, we need to step into assuring things after shaking our body out and giving it a movement. And so when we empower this movement piece within us, we can really, really see our confidence shine. And when I move my body, like my whole heart expands like this. It's like, you know, when people are talking to you and they have like body language, it's like that. Or maybe they're like that, you know, you wouldn't really want to get advice to someone if their body language is like this. And so sometimes when we are in those places where we are super anxious and we don't want to talk to anyone, we're feeling low on ourselves, we might be walking around like that, but no one's really feeling you. No one really can get through to you. And they're like, okay. So sometimes part of the embodiment can go from being really closed off like that to just rolling the shoulders back and opening the heart, and just a little bit uncomfortable, but receiving and seeing the difference that you can make just from subtle body languages that you can bring. So I definitely had a worse posture when I was younger, and now I walk into a room, generally, unless I'm on my really bad days, I'll be like, fuck it. If they want me for who I am, if they want to learn from me, I've got to present in this way. I'm going to be vibrant, I'm going to be confident, and people are going to see that, and people are wanting to know what it is, that I do and want to know a lot more about me. Because back when I was like this, no one really wanted to know. I was invisible. So another thing that I like to do to help cultivate my own embodiment, I have practices every single day. And in the morning, I like to wake up. I like to do a bit of meditation. I like to do mindful breathing. So if I'm ever in a heightened state, I'll always just choose to tune into my breath. And it helps me reconnect with that intuitive body wisdom again, because it's that moment of silence, that moment of really scanning and looking within that allows us to embody and feel grounded within that embodiment. Because even now, when I'm talking, sometimes I find myself going up here, and it's very exciting. But then I have to remember, if I'm truly embodied, I am going to connect this place inside of me to the bottom of my sacral, which is the bottom chakra system, if you believe in that, or just feel it, even the roots to the earth, if you don't believe in the chakra system. So I do believe in taking a few moments to meditate, to breathe in the mornings, to make me aware of being in this present moment in the now and feel into my body. I will scan my body, see what sensations are coming up. I will touch that part of my body. I will breathe into it for maybe a few minutes. I really like doing things like breath work as well, which you can actually follow along to on lots of people on YouTube. And that helps me connect with myself and my calmness so that I can embody this centered person throughout the day and hopefully carry that along, yeah, with me throughout the day. And if I allow that to leave at any point, I also don't get too stressed at myself, because I also know that I'm a human being who is living this human experience, and in any point none of us are completely perfect, and we might lose this at some point. So that's just good to be aware of as well. We're not always perfect, and when we catch ourselves not being in this way, don't blame yourself. That's just normal. That's just how we are, and we can then move forward and come back to that mindfulness when we are so ready. So always checking in with your body before going forward with anything. And what is it that I'm feeling right now? I want to always check in with myself, especially when I wake up or before I go to bed, so that I can feel calm before the day arrives or the evening has gone down and I'm going to bed. So if you are embodying yourself, there are certain things that you can do. Some people really like to embody themselves with music and art and activities that help cultivate that deeper connection within yourself. I really like doing anything that is moving, because my ADHD loves that. My ADHD loves to move its body. ADHD can work with doing things that are creative, and it just uses your mind in a different way. And it's actually making you come to a meditative state without sitting still. So I want to conclude this with embodiment not being just like a trend that everyone's talking about, but it's actually really, really powerful and can help you transform the way that you experience yourself, reconnection with your body, and be more authentic with yourself and the people around you, and which will allow you to cultivate everything that you want in your life, whether it's the work that you do, whether it's the friendship circles that you're in, and better relationships with your family as well. And if it doesn't help the relationships with your family, sadly, sometimes it doesn't, because some people really find it tricky if you are that embodiment of yourself. But that's a really good time to actually listen to yourself even more. And if you need to get extra support on that, finding someone to talk to, because it is really, really challenging to go through that kind of thing with your own family, and it can easily make you lost and not be able to embody your full innocent self as much as you want to be. So it's definitely good to have some sort of support around that support system, and also moving away from certain people in your life that doesn't accept you in this place of confidence. So it takes a lot of embodiment to be able to feel comfortable with letting some people go in your life, but it makes it easier in the long run, because you know that you're only going to connect them with people that are ready for you, people that can take you as your full self, and people that want to see you shine. Because ultimately, when you are embodied, it is you shining, it's you being your best to self. So start to make yourself rituals every day. Start to come to this place of embodiment where you feel into every single feeling of your body rather than in the head, overthinking. Even if you're overthinking, link it to the body. Take some breaths, take some dances, take up a new lesson in art or anything like that. Whatever it is that makes you feel more confident, you can do this, and remember that it's the first bit of the journey that's going to allow you to be the better, most successful you. So thank you for listening about embodiment. I'm really happy to talk about this because it's something that I so believe in, and think it's one of the best things that you can do for your own health and well-being. So if you need to ask me any questions, then it's Ginger Aria. I am on here on Instagram. I'm on a Sunroom, and I'm here for all of it. And I hope you have an absolutely amazing day.